NieR Automata was one of the most welcome surprises I'd encountered this year. From beginning to end, its incredibly engaging story as well as its well-directed presentation kept me coming back for more. And coming back is meant literally here, and that is because it took me about a time frame of 7 months to actually complete it due to my own personal reasons and or laziness, but anyway. Here I am having recently completed it and ready to talk about it because that is how special I believe this game to be. I first picked up NieR Automata back in March when it initially launched on PC. More on that version later. Not really knowing what it was about, but hearing it be praised by critics I knew and trusted, combined with the interest I already had due to a name like Platinum Games being attached to it, my attention was bound to catch on soon. From what I'd heard, I was expecting a flashy, fast-paced action game with awkward, but let's be honest, crowd-pleasing fan service, attached to a decent story that has questions asked about humanity, or something. What I didn't expect was for NieR Automata to haunt every waking thought I had preceding my completion of the game, while also including possibly the best soundtrack for a video game that I'd ever heard. I mean, just listen to this stuff. Sorry to take away your sweet ass battle montage, but let's talk about that well-directed presentation. NieR Automata presents a style of art direction that is somewhat muted yet also distinct from other titles I've played. Its use of colour, while definitely not oversaturated, does an excellent job at distinguishing the many areas found throughout the open world, making them feel both thematically and visually unique. Which does wonders for this game because sometimes you'd be forgiven for thinking this is just an okay looking game due to its okay texture work, and its less than okay pop-in that I definitely noticed at times. However, these issues didn't really detract from the bigger picture for me, and yeah, while you do get that bit of an area that looks bland as all hell, there's also others that are a real visual marvel to look at when you first encounter them. As for the character designs, oh yeah. Remember that awkward but crowd-pleasing anime-esque fan service I was talking about? That's here, in this part of the game. Thankfully it isn't too distracting as you actually grow to respect these characters and their place in the world throughout the story due to the development of both their morals and actions, but damn. Enemy design here is an entirely different story altogether. Throughout the game you're gradually introduced to everything from spider bots to giant colossal oil rigs that wish for your death. Hang on, who made this? Anyway, these enemy designs do a pretty great job at adding a variety to a game where you literally kill robots over and over again. So, credit there. Unfortunately, not everything is sunshine and skimpily clad anime girls though. About this PC port. What the hell happened here? I'd really like to know not only what's really going on under the hood of this game, but I'd also really like to know why it hasn't been patched since launch. When I booted up NieR Automata for the first time, I had to check that the resolution was at my monitor's native because of how awfully blurry it was. Soon after this, I'd realised the game, in full screen, was upscaling from a lower resolution to 1080p. Why? And a better question, why did it take a community patch of all things to fix this? Thank God for the many good community members that shared enough love for this game to introduce fixes to things like the ridiculously taxing global illumination lighting that was causing many performance issues for very little payoff. This is probably my biggest gripe about this game. An excellent game, held back by its own tech combined with the sheer lack of support from its devs and publisher after launch. Anyway, enough of the being depressed about the state of modern PC ports thing. Can we talk about this music? Look, it's absolutely fantastic, and you knew I was going to say that. Every track on display here aims to evoke certain emotional responses for the player, and I can only say that it evidently nails it. Everything from lead piano and guitar melodies to huge arrangements of orchestral suites is on point here. Some of the instrumental layering heard on this soundtrack absolutely boggles my mind, and as a composer of music myself, it inspires me to go above and beyond my current capabilities. The music here is excellently paired with the visuals also, as each area having its own music theme further diversifies the game's own environments. The soundtrack also boasts a wide range of tracks. Some are repeats, but with different instrumental arrangements depending on what route or playthrough of the game you're on. Like, how cool is this? The bigger battle music tracks are incredibly well done, with some effectively elevating the events that are happening on screen while also being a huge complement to the fast and frantic combat. And that combat is pretty damn good. The nature of this combat fits its fiction incredibly well here, especially when you're an ultra greatsword wielding super android that literally lusts for the glory of battle. When combining the use of a really satisfying dash move as well as jumps and aerial attacks, the game ends up giving you a fast-paced power fantasy like very few other titles do. But that is outside of Platinum Zone. There's a depth missing here that you get in the likes of, say, Bayonetta, which then causes NieR's combat to appear almost button mashy by comparison. That doesn't mean it's not satisfying to play. If anything, it just means it's easier. But even despite that, the combat never bored me, especially when seeing it displayed and strung together with such fluid animation. And all this was while using pretty much the same two weapons throughout the entire game, so seeing as this is kind of a review, I decided I should probably see what the other weapons have to offer. Spoiler, it ain't much. Each weapon shares the same moveset of all the other weapons of that type, so as a result, all small swords are good for fast attacks, and all large swords are better for heavies. But hey, the spears have cool animations and the combat braces are unique in their own right. That said, they didn't really offer any incentive to use them when regarding different combo possibilities. However, the lack of depth in weapon and combo options is almost completely made up for. The plug-in chip system is something that I find to be pretty great. As you progress through NieR Automata, you find upgrade chips for your character to equip and effectively alter the way you approach combat. For instance, I ran the entire game with a chip that allowed me to regain lost health by killing enemies. Another allows you to counterattack your enemies way more effectively, and some are just straight up damage and health buffs. A lot of this would sound stock standard for an action RPG like NieR, but this system goes further to solidify itself within the game's world. When you equip these chips, you're sacrificing much needed memory space in your android character's OS, meaning there's really interesting build capabilities that the game presents to you. If you really wanted to, you could only equip weapon attack buffs. It'd be pretty much a glass cannon death machine the whole game, but even that is a pretty boring example. Another fun thing about this is your ability to sacrifice and unplug HUD elements, gaining extra space to equip the chips you actually want to. Also, a pro tip, just try to unplug the OS chip. I dare you. This isn't even the only instance of NieR's gameplay systems excellently tying itself to the fiction of the game. In fact, the NieR series in general has been known for switching up gameplay in unique ways. Throughout Automata, you're also treated to things like the changing of camera perspective mid-game to shake up the flow of combat, until it's something akin to a bullet hell shoot 'em up. There's even an entire character that's dedicated to this style of fighting, but through an OP hacking minigame that makes melee combat with this particular character almost pointless. Through these interesting ways that NieR plays with gameplay mechanics, it relishes often in toying with the fourth wall, presenting some great moments to the player that we'll discuss later. Also, there's boss fights in this game. Lots of them. And they're all pretty spectacular just in their sheer scale alone. I'm gonna be honest, some bosses in this game made my jaw drop, while also making Shadow of the Colossus look like fucking Toy Story. Other boss fights are far more personal, and are a showcase of not only the game's many gameplay gimmicks, but they also serve as an important climax of emotional payoff in the story. Now the story. That's where this game gets real good. You start the game playing as everyone's favourite android girl with short skirt protagonist known as 2B. Anyway, you go through the game killing evil robots with your useless and meaningless sidekick, number 9 or something. And then you find that robots that can make a baby looks like Sephiroth. Okay. Then you find that some robots want to be friends with you. What? And then you find out that the aliens that attack the humans whenever are all dead because the enemy robots killed them or something. Yeah, but who cares about that? And then you finally encounter a random lady that kills a baby robot in the forest and says we were betrayed by command or something. And then you have to save your dumbass sidekick from one of the weeb robots, except this time you actually kill him, so that's cool. Anyway, long-haired robot's baby brother gets real mad and starts wrecking shit, and you kill him, so that's cool. But oh no! Your blank slate of sidekick gets infected with a virus or something, and then you have to kill him, so thank God for that. Anyway, that's pretty much the game. Thank you for watching, and I forget everything about the way Route A was written. But wait, the game is not yet over! When I discovered what another playthrough entailed in NieR Automata, I was really pleasantly surprised. Route B is probably one of the greatest second acts of a video game I've ever experienced, even if it is just the first act but from a different perspective. And that difference in perspective brings a whole lot to the table. Suddenly you're in the shoes of your useless and meaningless sidekick NieR, except he isn't any less useful or emotionally complex than 2B. In fact, Route B has NieR become the most well-characterized character in the game. NieR's curiosity, in tandem with his endearing and positive attitude towards his companions, makes him appear to be the most human of all the androids around. However, throughout Route B, the rug underneath NieR's feet that gives both him and the player reason to fight the war against the machines slowly gets pulled out from under him. Route B sprinkles the player with additional bits of info narrated by NieR himself that wasn't there in Route A. Info like the fact that most of the machines were just trying to replicate the human race down to the T, and failing, resulting in haunting, lost in translation actions that the machines undertake. One of the best examples of this is when you encounter a group of machines that have formed a religious cult, demanding that they must die to become as gods. The irony here is that the machines are naive. They probably won't become as gods and will just cease to exist, meaningless. This is one of the many instances the game excellently forms and presents existential horror. Another is when NieR, an android built for intelligence and curiosity, inevitably finds out the humans that he, Yorha, and all androids are fighting this war for are extinct. Not only that, but also the fact that the androids are built from recycled machine cores, further closing the gap between the two factions. This rug that was the humans who were supposed to be getting by just fine on the moon is now gone. However, NieR isn't given much time to ponder this as they're distracted with Eve just before he's killed but not really killed by his companion 2B. Or not 2B. Route C begins soon after, and we're treated to the continuation of events after both A and B. This was really refreshing to me, as I had little knowledge that Route C even existed. Also, this playthrough is where shit gets real, despite the fact that I feel like it lacks the sheer amount of plot that the first two had. Remember that random lady in the forest? We actually get to play her here. We also discovered that Yorha was a ruse, that it was created to maintain the lie of humanity's existence, while also containing a backdoor that triggers its self-destruction with a virus when the truth was learned. And as we know, the truth was learned. 2B straight up dies to both the virus and A2's sword, but there's a reason for that in particular which NieR doesn't immediately understand. And that is when this playthrough dies down for a long while. A lot of mystery is spawned from the appearance of this tower thing, which makes the route feel like the one where you run around as both A2 and NieR trying to figure out what's going on, with very few answers presented until the final chapters. However, I really love the haunting change in character and emotional trauma that NieR goes through here. The only answer he has is to mercilessly destroy the machines that he blames the destruction of Yorha on. He goes a bit insane thanks to his sudden loss of companionship and purpose, and who was once the most collected and positive android in the game is now someone who vows revenge on those he holds responsible for the demise of all he held dear. It's just a bit unfortunate that A2 is also in his crosshairs. We do also learn more about A2, her backstory, and why she's such a jaded character. The amount of development we get for her here though extends to the accepting attitude she adopts towards Pascal and his village of peaceful machines. She even takes up arms for them despite being a character who's accepted the fact that she's seemingly got nothing to fight for, and is now just trying to make amends in the literal memory of 2B. I really like A2's character. She's definitely pessimistic, but still cares about what happens to others, and hints through her actions that she still has the slightest slither of hope for a better future, no matter how that future is formed. So when both NieR and A2 inevitably cross paths again in the tower, it really is tragic. At this point, NieR is lost, and can only see the death of either himself or A2 as his only salvation, while A2 is just trying to get done what 2B couldn't, while also revealing to 9S that 2B is really a 2E, a model of android designed to destroy models like 9S when they catch on about the truth of humanity's extinction. I'll let that one sink in a little more. Choosing either ending C or D will determine whether one or both of these characters die. Ending C has A2 finally see true beauty in the world and life itself right before she sacrifices herself to save 9S. Ending D has them both kill each other, which are both kind of a depressing contrast with ending E, the last main ending of the game. The memories and data of the three protagonists is salvaged through what is possibly the best fourth wall break I've ever witnessed in a game. All of a sudden, the cycle of lies that was Your Heart is broken. Our heroes that aren't really heroes are rebuilt and the game leaves us with an uplifting message. The embarrassment we face in life is something that's a given, unlike our better futures, which is something we must build for ourselves.